Stage 1, pressing for flight. Launch reactor on countdown 1. We are go for launch.
Yes, sir. Reading you loud and clear. Clear. The clock has started.
The clock has started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to Pressing for Flight, live from the Space Coast, where the schedule never holds, even amongst the coronavirus. I'm your host, Stephen Mr. Marr. To my left, you see Stephen Mr. Kegel.
Hi. I'm self-quarantining.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm in my house.
Oh, for the night. And then we have Matthew Mr. Jordan.
Hey, what's up?
And Matt Mr. Cutshaw.
What's going on?
He'll be buried in his phone for the rest of the night.
I was about to say that. I gotta see everybody's photos.
If you need Matt, he will be on Twitter.
No.
Yeah. What?
No, I'm good. I'm actually looking for another base plate, man. I left my base plate at Sands.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt wasn't able to go for pickup today, so I grabbed his cameras. Which, well, we'll get into it in a second. But I guess whenever he left, well, y'all know the little connector, the little quick connect thing that you attach to the bottom of your camera that connects it to the tripod. Well, if anybody sees that in the parking lot at Sands Space Museum, pick it up and send it to Matt. Or if you have a tripod just like that, well, congratulations. You are now the owner.
You got yourself another base plate. There you go.
Is base plate, is that what they're officially called? I thought they were called quick connect or something.
Quick connector, base plate. I was looking base plate on eBay.
Yeah.
Something. I'll find one.
Yeah, you can find. Or, well, how good was the tripod? Was it time for a new tripod anyway?
No, the tripod itself was great.
Oh, okay.
It's just eventually I was planning on replacing that whole ball assembly because the actual plate itself and that plate that I lost was all plastic. I thought when I bought it, I thought it was metal, but it was all plastic. So I was going to replace all that anyways, just not so soon.
Well, you got some other stuff you have to replace. Like a box.
Yep.
All right, so today Atlas V in the 551 configuration was able to launch. I mean, you could say on time because they had a 2-hour window. They got down to, what was it, like 47, 48, 49 seconds, something like that on the first go.
47.
Yeah, 47 seconds, and then they called a hold. There was some issue with the at that time, somebody had the countdown net going, just playing from the cars or the speakers in their cars, and then like right around that time, I guess they needed to make a phone call, so they hung it up. So I was kind of out of the loop there for a minute. So how did that go? I know it was a hydraulic issue. Obviously, word got around, but I think you were listening to it, weren't you?
Which one?
The countdown, or at least the stream, right?
Yeah, I was on the stream. So the countdown was going as planned. No one was saying anything, and then you hear hold, and God bless Tori Bruno. He got on the Twitters as soon as he had information. He was passing that to the public. He's like, it was a bad card in a hydraulic accumulator on the ground side of things.
It sounds electronic. Is that like he says card? I think like card in your computer.
So the electronics that actually control the accumulator, there was a bad card in that. So they had an actual I guess there was some indication that this could happen during their wet test.
Right, because later on they said, that when we were doing our checkout, this was an issue that we had come across. Yeah.
Yes. So they knew what the fix was, and it was actually just a bypass.
Oh, I thought I heard somebody say something about basically rebooting it, like turning it off and back on.
Yeah, essentially you just turn it off and back on, and if the problem comes up again and it's a known problem, you can just bypass the whole. Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising. Like, I think the impression is given a lot of times that like everything with rocket launches has to be perfect. And,
Yeah.
you know, you hear, Elon, and I'm sure lots of other people have said, there's a million things that can go wrong, or a million ways a launch can go wrong, but only one that it can go right. And it makes you think that every little dot and tittle has to be perfect. But what's kind of neat is, like, if you go to these launch pads, like, they look like just an industrial site, and there are things that might be out of place. Like when we went to get our cameras, we drove around the back side of the pad, which was pretty cool. I'd never been on the back side of that pad. And there was like a little blockhouse with a door open, and it just looked like a little shed, like I don't know, like you think, space age and everything's going to be like just so and stuff, but you might have a card and a hydraulic pump that goes out, and you're like, it's not that important. And then you can proceed.
Willie's got to close the shed door.
Yeah. How many times I told you, shut that door? So they got it recycled, and as you can see on the left side of your screen, if you didn't already watch the launch today, it went off. And actually, we just got the confirmation from ULA, that confirmation of separation. Let me see. I'm trying to pull up the tweet while I talk, and that's really difficult to do. Separation confirmed. United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket has released the AEHF-6 satellite to relay survivable, protected anti-jam communications to strategic commanders and tactical warfighters on land, at sea, and in the air.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You want to talk about what this is? The advanced extremely high frequency satellite constellation. I was trying to find like an animation that showed kind of where they were, because I remembered for AEHF-5 we saw an animation of how it worked and kind of where they're positioned in geosynchronous orbit, but I can't.
Yeah, they're in a geosynchronous orbit, and there's 5 of them, so they are spread across the entire 360 degrees, and they split it into 5 basically, because you would think with 2 satellites you could get a full view of the Earth, but that's not actually the way it works. There's a little bit in each side, and even with these satellites in place, they still, for like polar operations, they have a special satellite system that they use for like polar operations.
Okay.
But in the AEHF world, they're a replacement satellite for the Milstar satellite system, and they're not really a replacement. It's more like they're bolstering. So the entire Milstar satellite system was 5 satellites, and each one of these satellites has more bandwidth and capability than all 5 of those satellites put together.
Right.
So it was the first launch for the Space Force, so that's kind of a cool thing. Even though the Space Force is going to end up owning pretty much every DoD satellite's going to end up being under the aegis of the Space Force within the next 18 months.
Makes sense.
But interesting fact, it seemed like it was a long time from launch to when they actually released the payload. Launch was at 4:18, and they released the payload just a few minutes ago.
5 minutes ago.
Just a few minutes ago. So it was a 6-hour coast time before they actually did the release into GTO, because they are using a specialized geosynchronous transfer orbit for this mission that gives it a little extra speed and a little extra ability to maneuver on the backside. Which gives the satellite, it can move back, forth, up, down, within the plane of geo orbit.
Yeah.
And it also, there was a passenger satellite, a very small one. It was a CubeSat, and it's a research satellite looking at new capabilities for CubeSats, and that released during or right after one of the coast phases. So there was also the need to put that where they wanted it to be.
Right. So that one didn't go all the way to geo.
No, that one didn't go all the way to geo. That one was in a pretty low orbit, from what I understand.
Oh, okay. Is it self-propelled? Like, is it gonna?
Oh yeah.
Circularize its own orbit? Because I imagine they weren't circularized at that point.
I don't know, because it's a military research satellite. There's not a whole lot of information.
True.
You would assume they could circularize their orbit, but it's a CubeSat, and those generally don't have a lot of ability to maneuver themselves. They do, but
Yeah, they have a little, but not much.
they have a little, but not a whole lot. So it's probably going to be up there 3, 4, 5 orbits. I don't know what the plan is with it, but it's just looking at new technologies that they can use with CubeSats in a military background.
Right. Well, yeah, and wasn't this one actually like a spare? Because I thought whenever they launched AEHF-5, they were talking about how that completed the constellation, but there was still going to be one more.
Oh yes, they're always, especially with the necessity of the system, because I mean, I was on a submarine. I've used these satellites, and I've used the Milstar satellites before them. So and those are excellent. Basically, it allows a spot, so it a 10-mile wide circular area where that satellite, that's the only place that you can actually receive it's data on that channel.
Oh,
on the
really?
satellite
It's
at
that
time.
narrow?
Yeah. Yes, it's very narrow. They don't,
So
when it
you
comes
can't-
to those critical communications, as they call them, they want them to be as precise as possible. So it's a
okay.
fairly
So
narrow beam.
You're not connected to these things all the time. It's just like you have
No,
these certain
you-
windows that you can actually connect to them.
basically you apply for a window. You say, hey, we're going to be coming up on this day at this time, and we'd like a spot relay, and then they would make sure that the satellite was pointing in your area, and or if there wasn't, then they'd say, well, maybe this next time you come up instead of
Right.
whatever, and that would be when we came up to like periscope depth. So
Huh. Well, that's interesting.
they're a very necessary satellite system, like critical communications. You get information back and forth as quickly as possible, especially, the world's so interconnected now. Like, you want to know things happening as soon as they happen. So this satellite system is definitely for that.
What kind of bandwidth you getting on these? You playing some Rocket League out there under the ocean or what?
No, nothing like that. It's all text communication too.
Probably very high latency.
Yes.
That's satellite.
So they
Yeah,
did
satellite.
this one a little bit different as far as the remotes go. And I wasn't sure. I asked Jim if it was like okay to talk about it, and he said it was. You still learning. I don't know if like it's okay to talk about the logistics of going out to the pad, but so what they did is. So sometimes, most of the time we take a bus. Everybody loads their gear up into the bottom of a bus, and then we go out. And other times, and it's more rare, but we'll caravan out there. Usually to launch viewing, we'll caravan, but as far as visiting the pad, usually it's the bus. But every once in a while, we've been able to caravan out there. But they usually have us get into each other's cars and condense down to as few cars as possible. But on this one, because of Corona, nobody was allowed to like get into each other's cars. I think if you came together, then yeah, you could ride. Like I know Adam rode with Adrian. But they had come all the way from Orlando, so it'd be kind of weird to make them separate. And Adam wouldn't have been able to get out there because he didn't have a car. But yeah, so it was kind of neat. We all got to drive out to Slick 41. Drive on the pad. There's like a road inside the fence. There's a little road that goes all the way around the pad, and so we all got to drive out there for that. There was a funny little moment there where you remember when we got up to the gate, we're all in line and we're waiting to go in. And we're all just sitting in our cars, and then all of a sudden they decide they want us to go in the other gate. And so we Jim's like, okay, we're going to the other gate. And then he's driving down the line, against, the opposite direction of what we're facing. And he's just telling everybody we're going to the other gate. But as he's telling people, everyone starts turning around to follow him, where there was this other road that takes you right around the corner to the other gate. And so the whole line gets behind Jim and starts going out. And then he's like, "Wait, what are y'all doing?" and so we
Why y'all
so we
following me?
basically like turned around and drove about 100 yards and then turned back around and went the right way.
You guys did like a car Congo line.
Yeah,
Oh, it was crazy, man.
that's what it felt like. And whenever we were turning around, I'm like, wait, I've been here before. The other gate's just like down that road and around the corner. But everybody got to do that little shimmy. It was awesome. But yeah, we got cameras placed. Let's see. Was there anything of note during camera placement? Just take shots, post shots.
Being able to drive your own car up to the pad and on the pad was probably hands down the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
like your own car on the pad. Like I took a picture of the Atlas in my side view mirror.
Right.
And that's probably one of my favorite pictures that I take.
Now you can never wash your car.
Right?
Yeah, it's got like it's got, what is it? The booster. What do you call this? The stuff that comes out of the booster. What would you call that? Booster debris.
Yeah,
well, but your car wasn't out there. But
the gunk.
It's got rocket fuel on it. Let's say that.
There you go.
What's up, Daryl? I see you there, and we did notice you were late. Just so you know.
All right.
We're watching you. Yeah, so camera placement, and I think we're learning to just take as many shots as you can, because a lot of times you see other people's photos and you're just like, man, why didn't I? And you realize like you weren't shooting as much as you should have been. Me and Matt were talking about that. I felt pretty good about what I got out there, but it's that's the name of the game. Once you get your remotes down and they're done, you don't even have to go back and check them anymore. Then bust it out and just start taking some photos, because you never know what you'll capture that you can use later.
Yep. And with ULA, they give you so much time.
Yeah.
They give you an hour, you know what I mean? So within an hour, that's plenty of time, but each time you go out, Steve-O's been out a few times. This is my third time going out for setting remotes. You learn something new every single time. What I learned this go around was to practice more on my framing. My framing, you tweak, as you go. You tweak every little thing here and there. You know what I mean? My first engine shots came out okay. You know what I mean? I wish they were better, but it is what it is. For the first time, not bad.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, Daryl. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, play the law of averages by taking as many pics as you can. Yeah, it's true. Yep. Fill that card up, and then later on you'll be like, oh man, I forgot I even got that. Or like today we were at the launch viewing, and I think his name's Jay. He works with Jim. Is he public relations or something like that? But he was like, does anybody have a picture of the Space Force logo on the fairing? And I was like, do I? And I'm like, I probably do on my computer, but I don't have it on my phone. And it's like, it's just one of those things. The more pictures you have, the more useful they might be later on, even if you don't expect. You're not planning on it. So today we get back to, oh shit, I didn't want to give it away. I accidentally showed my shot for just a split second. So we get back to the pad today, and the first thing I see when I finally find Matt's camera, because I remember him pointing it out to me and being like, yeah, it's that one right over there. It's got kind of the green thing on it or whatever. And so I was like, all right, good. I just need to know where it's at, because you don't always, like, you can spot your own gear, no problem, but other people's gear. And Richard Angle had pulled up right behind me, and I was like, you were over here when Matt was setting up, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, do you remember which one's his? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I know that one's mine. And he pointed at his. And then, I get up on the hill, because you were kind of, there's like a ditch, and then you were kind of like back there a little ways. And I see this camera laying down, and I'm like, oh no. And my first thought was, it got blown over by the wind or something.
Yeah.
But I got up to it, and let's see, do I have? Yeah, he was all covered in mud and grass and everything. Like that thing, it really blasted your camera, dude.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really stake it down either, so that's my fault.
You had the one in the middle, but
I didn't really have it in as good as I thought. I don't know, man. Because I was talking with Eric Hudin, and he was just like, yeah, I don't really stake down my cameras. You know what I mean? And over time, talking with a few people, are like, I don't really stake down my camera, so I didn't really put much thought into it.
Mhm.
Now I realize that you got to stake down your cameras every single time.
I've
just in
skipped it.
case.
I've skipped staking it down before, just when I was in a hurry. But I think this was a little bit of a different circumstance because I've shown the two shots that I sent you, of your camera, and so for the viewers, you can see the angle that Matt's camera was at. And he wasn't like staring down the barrel of the flame trench. I think he knows better than that. But, and I'm just kind of clicking through these. You can see the last one, the last shot before, well, I'm guessing this is what knocked his camera over because this wall of mud and dirt, because these flame trenches, they go months without use. And so, and I don't think that they do much to clean them out or anything because the rocket does that for you.
Out anyway.
Yeah. So
once a month they get it clean.
Yeah. So there's this wall of dirt and grime and everything that comes out before the actual plume, and that is probably what knocked over his camera because this is actually the last shot on his card before I actually picked up the camera. So
everything else is just black.
Yeah. But your other one turned out good. Now, do you want me to show it or no?
Yeah, you can show it. Yeah, that's fine.
I'll show the last one you sent me. He's still working on it. This is just quickly just to have something to show. But
yeah, I already posted it on Twitter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do too much more to it. I'm still learning. I'm still learning edits.
Get the Lightroom, man. I'm telling you, it can come out so much better with Lightroom.
I just use Photoshop Express. I don't have Lightroom or anything like that, so I will be.
$10 a month. You get Lightroom.
Yeah, it's $10 a month, and you get full Lightroom and Photoshop.
I will be doing it now.
I want to say, a year. But I want to say, I heard you say that like 2 or 3 months ago.
I know.
It's not like back in the day where you had to spend $200 for the software,
right? Or pirate it.
Eventually, it adds up, but
right. Yeah, nowadays they made it.
You always got a new version of it.
I don't even think there's an option to pay like $500 for the full thing. It's just a monthly thing now, which is smart because the alternative was everybody was pirating their software.
Yeah,
you can still pirate it. If you want to.
You know what, Matt? Would you want to send just the unedited one too into this? Yeah, throw it up in this messenger so we can look at it because I want to show like what we saw on your camera when you first looked at it. Because when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, that a little bit of plume kind of got in the way. The little smoke billowing right here got in the way of these engines on the right side. But now that I see it with the exposure brought up, it's like, man, it actually looks kind of cool. Because you still get to see the flame on the right side, and then you can see the RL10 in the middle, or no, RD180. Yeah, RD180. You can see those. You can see those good enough. So I really like the way that it frames the engines there.
Yeah, I'd have to. That's on my actual card on my camera.
No, that's fine. I wasn't sure if you had it on your phone.
Yeah, I usually just import them straight into Photoshop Express.
Gotcha. But man, you've got you can see the sky in the background, and those are actual clouds back there. That's not like more smoke from the rocket. But man, the way it's like you found a little hole to shoot through, where the plume is like circling. I just love it, man. I think it's great.
Not bad.
Rocket in the heavens.
Yeah. I already posted it. Already had some guy reach out to me and said, "Hey, can I share this to my company?"
To your company?
I was like, "Yeah, to his company that he works for. He works for P&W on down. So can't sit until spacecraft separation, which should be soon. I don't really know what he does. He's said I sent out the mission summary, which goes to the managers from the president of P&W on down. Not sure what that is, but he reached out and said, "Hey, can I use your photo?" And I was like, "Sure, go for it."
Well, Michael Kane chimed in. He said, "Nice job, Matt. Love the ice crystals on the left." Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
I,
too.
I photoshopped those in. Yeah.
just yep. I got some ice crystals I keep in a folder, buried
That's
deep in
right.
my hard drive, and I just
Sprinkle them in there once in a while.
That's right. That's it. I call that folder is named Frozen.
Let it go.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, man. I think that you are well on your way to getting some great shots out there. There might be a little focus issue with this one too. No, well, I don't know. It's hard to say because it might just be that Photoshop Express kind of compressed it.
It does compress it, but I think it probably was a little bit of a focus issue on this one too. Going forward, I will be either taping down or using poster putty or something to make sure that my focus ring is locked in place.
Yeah.
Because again, none of us are there at the pad, so we don't really understand the full rumble of the Atlas when is going off. So we don't know if it's shaking, cameras, out of focus. And it's possible because when you have your lens set to manual, all you do is just twist a little bit, and your camera's out of focus. So that makes perfect sense. So little tricks and tips here and there, is get you well on your way to getting some great captures. So
yeah. And I had a pretty good day. There's one of mine that's I call it the engine shot, but it's not really an engine shot because it's a little wider than typical engine shots. But I wanted to get some of the infrastructure around the pad, and I think I could have gone a little bit, maybe just one bump faster on my shutter speed because this stuff right here is really bright. Like the only other time I've ever shot the Atlas from the pad, like in a remote setting, I was a lot tighter. I was much tighter. I was like in this area here, and I always forget that stuff gets brighter as it like the further it gets from the nozzle. Like you would think that it's going to get dimmer. It would be the brightest at the nozzle, but it actually gets brighter further down. And so if I had gone just a little bit faster on my shutter speed, I might have been able to get a little more detail out of that. But I'm still pretty happy with it. The only issue that I have is, and this is something that I just don't know that I'll ever be able to fix, unless I upgrade my cameras, is there's noise. There's noise down here. You can see it. If you know it's there, you can see it. Now that I've shown you, you'll know it's there. You may not have seen it before, or you may have. And then my other one, my wide one, I really like the way that turned out. I've got one camera in there. I didn't notice there's one other person's camera in there, but you'll get that from time to time.
There's a lot of cameras out there.
A lot of cameras. Yeah. Oh, and what I was saying before we started, like a part of me kind of wishes that I had been on the other side. The reason I chose this side is because I wanted to be on the side that has the 3 boosters. Because if you don't know, the 551 configuration with Atlas 5, it's 5 meter fairing and 5 solids, and then 1 Centaur or 1 RL10 on the upper stage. Is that how it works?
Yes.
So I wanted to be on the side with the 3, and I wasn't taking into consideration where the sun was going to be. It just so happened when we were setting up remotes, it was about the same time of day that the launch was going to be. And so I should have taken a cue, although I still was able to get some shadows in the plume here, but I wouldn't mind not being on the shadow side of the rocket, because as you can see, the sun is like right around here. And so the entire side of the rocket is dark to me. And if I had been on the other side, I would have had at least half of it lit up, a little contrast there on the rocket itself. So that would have been nice to have, but still pretty happy with it. Got a little infrastructure here. I like getting like the tanks and stuff. I don't know what half of this stuff is, but it looks cool.
The lightning towers are cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lightning towers are cool. I think the crew access tower at 41 is really cool looking too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's our photos from the pad. Anything else about this launch?
I watched it from my secret location at work.
Yeah, were you up on a tower?
No.
Oh.
Wah, wah,
Nah.
wah.
Where is it? It's like in Coco or something, right?
Coco, but it's a secret.
It's a secret location.
Oh yeah, I didn't talk about like why I was out at ITL, because there was a thing, Corona has kind of changed everything, obviously, and what they were going to do is just have like a select number of people out there, and so basically what they did is they selected the outlets with like the most potential reach. And Next Horizons, we're pretty small fry, so we weren't on that list, which I totally understood. I saw the list, I was like, yeah, well, that makes sense. So I wasn't upset, and I'm just hanging out at home earlier today. Just actually hadn't even gotten out of bed yet, and I get a call from Jim, and he's like, "Hey, where are you shooting from?" I don't know. With everything going on, I'm honestly not sure. I was thinking about going out to the beach, and then he's like, "Well, anyway, do you want to shoot from ITL?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." He's like, "All right, well, we had a couple people had to cancel, so I know you live close, so can you get there in 25 minutes?" And I'm like, "Yes," which I wasn't sure if that was really the answer, but that's what I wanted the answer to be. So yeah, I got ready as quick as I could and hopped in the car and made it like just in time. I think I had like 5 minutes to spare before they rolled out. But once again, Jim's the man. He had a couple people cancel, and instead of wasting those slots, he threw us a bone. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, so Jim's awesome.
Yeah, so we ended up with a nice liftoff shot. Actually, yeah, I'll show it.
A little bit of that power slide.
Yeah. Now, is that the power slide, or is that? Oh, I'll show this.
Okay, so the actual what people have termed the power slide was in the 4-1.
4-1-1, yeah. When they have just one booster on one side.
With the one booster, the rocket comes off a little bit more to one side, so it's called a power slide. You got it a little bit with this launch with the 3 on one side and the 2 on the other combination. So the side with the 3 kind of leaned a little bit.
Yeah.
You could definitely tell it from the picture we used for the feature for the article.
Yeah. And the side closest to me is the side with the 2 boosters, and then the other side has the 3. I think it's more that Atlas just pitches really fast. Like it's not too far off the pad, and it's already pitching. I wish I had my other one pulled up, because like the shot right before this, it was still straight up, and then like all of a sudden it's like bam, we got to go.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Atlas launches, especially when they got a boatload of boosters on them. That's the name of the show, Boatload of Boosters.
You got a pretty good rumble.
Boatload of boosters. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the sound is great, man. I'm so glad I got to go to ITL. I mean, I've been there a lot now, but there's just nothing like hearing that rumble.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
The rumble and the crackle. You don't get the crackle from like anywhere except for real close.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
The crackle's the best part.
Yep.
I was watching from my phone at work while I was filling prescriptions, having everybody freaking out, and we're getting our butts kicked. But I was telling my coworker, I was like, "Hey, check this out, man." He's just like, "What's that?" I was like, "It's a rocket launch. Check it out." He's like, "Oh, that's cool." And I was like, "Yeah, man. Are you listening to this?" I was like, "This is the countdown." I was like, "So we're gonna listen to the countdown while we're counting pills."
Yeah. Can we not do that?
Yeah. Like, let's do that.
Yeah. I mean, we listen to music, right? You ever listen to music at work?
We're not supposed to.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have the phones ring like crazy, so yeah, we're not supposed to. But I didn't give a darn. I was listening to and watching the rocket launch.
Yeah. Well, let's see. What else is there? If we think of anything else about the launch, I mean, it's a big to do, and a lot of times we just kind of gloss over some things.
And it might be the last one for a while, so it makes it a little
true.
more to do.
Well, let's talk about that then. I was going to go into the Bigelow thing, but let's talk about that.
Well, the Bigelow thing kind of connects with that, so.
Well, that's true. So what are we now? Are we on phase 4 or whatever? Let me see. Stage 4.
I haven't seen any announcement as to whether they're on stage 4 or not, but I do have an email from NASA. They put out a news email every day. Almost every day. And this one is directly from Mr. Bridenstine. And it's basically saying, we're going to take care of our people. That's our first priority. And technology allows us to do a lot of what we're doing remotely without a lot of change in how we do business, because NASA's not centralized. You have stuff all over the country. Some people think that's a bad thing. Some people think that's a good thing. In this instance, it's a very good thing because it allows a lot of projects to continue. Essentially, anything that doesn't require hands in the actual equipment is already being done through telework for the most part anyway. Anything that does require hands being in it is kind of being pushed to the side, with some exceptions. Anything that's mission critical. Mars 2020 is definitely mission critical. Perseverance will be making its launch. James Webb Space Telescope is suspending their integration and testings. And they will continue to look at the situation and see exactly when they can get back to work on that, because that does require a lot of hands in the work. Right. They continue to work on the X-59 X-plane. So it's going to be the first X-plane that's been piloted in more than 30 years. So they've been working on that. Artemis is mission critical, so all work on Artemis is continuing. They're going to be sending let's see here. Artemis 1 is being shipped from Glenn Research to Kennedy Space Center. That's going to continue. Manufacturing and testing facilities are currently on hold, but they do plan on getting the spacecraft to Kennedy as soon as possible.
Wait, which one? You're talking about Orion? Orion was supposed to show up today, wasn't it?
Let's see.
It did. They already posted about that already.
Okay, so that did go as planned. Some of their testing on SLS, that's what that is. Some of the testing on SLS has had to be temporarily put on hold.
Oh yeah, the green one, right?
Yeah, the green one stuff. Currently on hold. Let's see. Just because of the nature of a lot of the work that Ames does, they're supercomputing, so that can basically all be done online and through telework as well. So it's looking like, they're taking a hit in general, but they're rolling with the punches, and they're already kind of set up well for this kind of a scenario where they have to decentralize rapidly. Let's see. Commercial crew is critical, so work on commercial crew will continue, which includes SpaceX. Most of the agency remains under stage 3 with mandatory telework. Ames Michoud,
yeah, I think it's Michoud, yeah,
and Stennis are at stage 4.
Yeah, Daryl actually just said that in the chat there. Michoud, and I'm assuming that's New Orleans, Louisiana, NOLA.
Yeah.
And then, Stennis is in Mississippi. They're both on 4. And I had that tab pulled up of what that was. So stage 4 is mandatory telework, and facilities are closed except to protect life and critical infrastructure. Also, all facilities closed, meetings and events, conduct virtual meetings and participate remotely only in events. And then for travel, all travel is suspended. Nobody wants to get on a plane right now.
Yeah, no one wants to get on a plane anyway. Have you bought your tickets? You can get super discounted tickets right now.
Even for like a year from now? Like
maybe not for a year from now, but I've heard like a friend of mine paid like $250 for a round trip to Paris.
Wow.
Is what he said. Yeah. Not that he could use it now, but
Yeah, but why would you want to do like? So anytime I
go
to
be crazy.
I know they do, but man, like I'm driving, down the 528, which goes past the airport, and I'm seeing planes landing and taking off, and I'm just like, why? What? Y'all spreading this, man? Stay your butts home,
most of those planes are empty or mostly empty.
Sometimes it's people going to help other areas.
Yeah.
Was it Denise just flew back to Germany, right?
Germany,
and she said her plane was full. She tweeted that her plane was full.
The German tourists going home.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There's nowhere to run from this thing. It's
No,
not like
there's
you can
nowhere to
leave.
run.
It's like, oh, get out of the U.S. because it's like it doesn't matter where you go right now. It's like it's
more
everywhere.
like get out of the U.S. because they can't afford the hotel for the extra 14 days.
Oh, really? Are they jacking the?
No, it's just
expensive to stay for 2 weeks.
It's expensive to stay in Orlando. Have you seen this place?
Yeah, I don't go there much. I try to stay out of
away.
Orlando. Yeah,
stay out of Orlando.
Unless Kegel drags me to Disney or something.
They're not open.
Yeah, you can't even do that right now.
Instead of that, just come to my house. We'll play Munchkin.
All right. I don't know what that is, but
It's like sounds fun.
It's a great RPG card game. It's like D&D Light.
Oh,
it's fun.
I'll play Risk.
It's a lot of fun. I don't have the time or the patience for Risk.
What? Would you play this RPG game? Tabletop?
It's a tabletop RPG, but everything's based on cards.
Yeah,
so you don't actually have to come up with anything. I love Magic. My son loves Magic too, except for the last time I completely annihilated him, so he hasn't wanted to play recently.
Well, I like playing Risk against people that don't like playing Risk.
Well, I'll see you Risk and raise your battleship.
Battleship. I mean, I guess I like Battleship, but there's not a lot of strategy with it. It's kind of luck and then kind of feel your way around until you find the shape of the ship.
I'll see you both of those and raise you laser chess.
Laser chess?
I have laser chess.
What is that?
Yeah, right.
So basically, you have two lasers that are on either side of the board, and each person controls one of the lasers. And then all the pieces are actually like mirrors. And you try to hit the king with the laser pointer.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, I like lasers. I ain't gonna lie. I'm into lasers.
That sounds expensive.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Oh, I remembered something that I forgot to bring up. We were talking about Matt's camera getting blown over. Mine suffered a little bit of damage too. A bird decided to post up on top of my box and take a couple dumps.
Nice.
Just leaving a little present.
Yeah.
I hear that's good luck in Japan.
And clearly I haven't cleaned it off yet because I wanted to show it off.
You okay there, Matt?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
You got a fever?
Nope. It's like
Every time anybody coughs.
Headaches? Have you lost your sense of smell?
Nope. I got the pollen though.
Yeah. I'm dealing with that over here too.
Every year, man. It's like, dang, I just can't every year. And they're like, oh, you got the COVID? No, I got the pollen. That's what I got.
I was never allergic to anything until I moved into the house where I live now. I think there's black mold or something that's making me allergic to everything.
Oh, dang.
Michael Caine's in the chat, and I was like, oh, I want to see what he got. Hey, I like this, man.
Yeah, he got some great shots.
Yeah.
He got some good shots, yeah.
Oh, does he have multiple posted? What you got?
Yeah.
What you got, bro? What you got?
Come on, man.
Oh, you
Kane,
got the lift off? Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, you know Kane Dog, man. You know he's going to get a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Kane got a great picture of all the cameras.
Yeah. He got a lot of other cameras in there. But, I like to look at that as like, it's sort of behind the scenes kind of thing, Yeah. Like, I definitely know that, like, before I was able to start placing remotes, like, I really liked just to see the other cameras in there, like, just to see kind of what they look like. They all have a different mode of protection, Some of them just have, like, the clear bags. Some of them got the boxes and stuff. All the NASA spaceflight ones, I don't know if you guys ever seen them up close, but they all pretty much use the same box with the, the windshield shield, that you put the sunshade that you put in your windshield, the shiny mirror reflector one. It's like they've taken those and cut them up and put them on the inside. I have one. I gave it to Matt. Did you end up using it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's what's covered in all my boxes.
Yeah, it's the one you picked up that fell over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All that mud, he couldn't see it. That's why.
Yeah. or you got this guy Matt with his boxes that have solar panels and fans, keeping his gear nice and cool.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I hear a voice in my head when it's really hot outside, and I'm like, it's Matt telling me, you should have built a fan for your You know, and I never did, you know, put any more holes or anything for venting or anything, but you know, it makes me nervous because I've had cameras die out there at the pad, and you can only really speculate about it. And you know, one of my speculations is that it was heat that drained the battery.
Yeah. Think about it. Think about summertime, man. They're going to be doing launches during the middle of summer, and it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Like March 2020, Perseverance launch. Yeah, that's going to be in July.
When we deliver coronavirus to Mars.
Yeah.
Hey, Mars, we're coming with the coronavirus.
Hey, guys.
That's it, man.
Well, hey, going back to the coronavirus thing, they were also talking about, you know, there's a launch from Russia coming up soon, going to the ISS, delivering 2 cosmonauts and an astronaut. And they're talking about, well, how exactly are we going to keep coronavirus from going to the ISS? So they said they're following their standard procedure, which is actually a 2-week quarantine of astronauts and cosmonauts before they even get onto the rocket and head up there.
And you know that they have access to tests.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's mission critical stuff.
Yeah, they're hiding their numbers.
Now, I wonder though, like if you know how deep into your infection do you have to be before it can show up on a test?
It deep into the infection.
Well,
I think you just have
it's like 2 weeks.
Symptomatic.
Well, but it's like 2 weeks before you start showing symptoms. They said. Well,
yeah,
I'm sure
between
that
2 and
changes.
14 days is what
Okay.
the official.
It just scares me that, like, you know, if it's too soon, will a test catch it? And then they go up there like, oh, turns out they did. They had it.
Oh, can you imagine, man? Oh, man. Like dude.
I mean,
coronavirus on the ISS, that would not be good.
No,
it wouldn't.
it wouldn't. I wonder how bad it would be because they're all, you know, they're all in pretty good health, you know.
They're all in very good health, but that's also like one of the dirtiest places anywhere.
That's true. So
I mean,
so maybe the
you drink your own
coronavirus
sweat and piss up there.
Maybe it would meet its match.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's so dirty there's special bacteria that eat coronavirus that live in.
And that's how we find the cure.
There you go.
Maybe.
It would be interesting if there was some way that the ISS could contribute to finding a cure. Like it ended up that whatever it was, it had to be made in space. You know, because there's medicines, you know, there's a lot of research going on up there about, you know, different medicines, and I don't know how it works, but certain things can only be made in space. You know?
Yeah, the lack of gravity or the lessness of gravity in space actually can help make certain colloids you cannot make on Earth.
Right.
So there is research into that. I keep going back to Robert Zubrin, and he was saying that's one of the things that's going to become an industry in space. That's going to be kind of like the jump off to us actually becoming a multiplanetary species, is being able to do industry in space and make medicines in space.
Clebby Harris says viruses also spread way more easily in 0G. Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Matt, you know anything about that? You ever heard that before? I've never heard that.
I mean, I've never seen anything specifically saying that, but I could totally see it because, you know, the virus lives in these spit particles. And if you are in space, there's no gravity to pull that spit particle any one way. So it's just floating there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's not that the viruses are necessarily like
hardier in space or anything like that. It's just, it's easier to transmit in that environment of low gravity.
I bet that's it. Yeah. Well, I found a link that talks about viruses in space, but I'm not going to sit here and read it because that would be insanely boring to you guys, but I will probably read that when this show is over. Okay. So we'll continue with more Corona talk. Bigelow has had to lay off their entire workforce. And this article is coming at you from Space News. It's on the thing, but we're not going to read it, but I recommend Space News. They got good articles.
They have excellent articles.
So what do you got?
All right. So with I'm getting the information from the same place you are, but I can talk about it a little bit. So essentially, Bigelow, last week they laid off 20 people, and this week they laid off 68 people. That's their entire workforce, which was 88 people. The company does say that this is only temporary. They will be back. However, there are some people who in the industry who are speculating that this actually might be a complete shutdown. This is it. Bigelow doesn't exist anymore for a couple of reasons. One of the big ones is that they didn't really have a chance in their eyes of getting the rights to berth a module to the space station for use for like tourism.
Right.
Instead, that went to Axiom, who actually did apply for it. Bigelow didn't even apply for it because the amount of funding they would receive, they didn't feel was adequate for what they were going to be developing.
Okay.
They just didn't have $543 million or however much the number was to put up front for the development costs. And Axiom obviously had a better accountant.
Right.
But
and Axiom's the one that they actually want to do like space tourism, but they're going to start out with a module attached to the space station.
Yes, they are going to attach a tourism module to the space station that will be available for, I think I read that it was up to 2 weeks at a time. And that's kind of like their first step. They do want to build an entire free-floating space station that is their own. And this is for them. They see this as the first step toward that.
Right.
And it's a good first step because, they're still going to be making tons of money from people wanting to go to space. People are willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to the edge of space. People are willing to spend millions to actually go to space. So...
yeah, and they're one of the ones that either they actually have people booked already or they've opened it up so that if anyone wants to, they can book. I know it was like
I believe they actually already have people booked because they are working with Space Adventures.
Okay.
And Space Adventures is definitely like the people you want to work with when it comes to space tourism. They've had successful space tourism, so.
Yeah. Well, once we get enough subscribers, we can go ahead and monetize the stream, and then we'll start saving up, and we'll all go to the space station.
Absolutely. If Richard Garriott can go, we could definitely go.
Yeah. So yeah, we need 1,000 subscribers before we can even monetize. So smash that subscribe button. Destroy that like button.
Turn on the notifications so you know when we go live.
Right.
All your friends are doing it. You might as well do it too.
Yeah. Somebody smashed the like button. I could see it. Thank you, whoever smashed that like button.
But now you're about to get sued for a new keyboard.
Yeah. Done, Daryl. Thank you, Daryl. Let's see. I think we've pretty much covered it. We're not at an hour, but I think we've pretty much covered everything. Does anybody have anything else they want to add about today's launch or how upset they were? Huh? Yeah.
I was glad to see one.
Possibly the last one let's see, the next one that is like a firm date, I want to say, here, I'll just pull it up. Oh, I want to keep that tab. Let's see. And like I always say, just Google launch schedule, and the first thing that pops up, it
yeah, that one did get postponed, and it wasn't because of SpaceX. That one was actually postponed because of Argentina.
Right, yeah, because they couldn't get here. And I don't know if that's like they have personnel that has to be here for the launch, or if it's just they would really prefer to be here for the launch of their own satellite.
No, I believe that it was personnel that would have to be here to certify it before it flew.
Okay. Yeah, so the next launch we have on the books is a Soyuz, and that ain't from here. That's April 9th.
I think I want to say the next one for us will be probably Mars 2020 or Perseverance.
No, DM2 is going to go before Mars 2020, dude.
DM2 ain't going, man. I'm telling you, DM2 is not going.
You know that?
No?
No, there's no
Not
way. With
me.
everything, they think about this, okay? Think about, and anybody who's watching to agree with me, think about this. Think about how much staff and how much people that it takes to get astronauts to the International Space Station. Think about all the nurses and all the health checks and you know everybody in the mission control. This coronavirus is out of control right now, man. It's killing thousands of people, man. They are not going to risk all this thousands and if not millions of dollars and everything that they're doing just to do DM2. They're going to wait. They're going to wait until this thing is done, it's blown over, and then they're going to proceed with DM2. It's not going in May.
You heard it here first,
also,
folks.
Well,
it's not going in May.
If I am wrong, come out to see that.
If I am wrong, then I will, and everybody can mark my words. If I am wrong, then everybody you see on the screen right now, I owe them a beer.
I think they'll proceed with it. I mean, I expect delays just like anything, but I do think they'll proceed with it because, I mean, they're still launching the Soyuz.
They're still launching the Soyuz. They still have people manning the ISS control room.
Yeah.
Like, they just modified their procedures to account for extra space needed between people.
True, but I think it's a combination between not only the coronavirus, but also, again, I don't think this necessarily has to do with it, but now NASA's talking about wanting to investigate SpaceX's engine failure that they had on the last landing.
They should, yeah. It should.
They should investigate it, but
they need to make sure
that wouldn't be a mission ruiner.
No,
it's not. No, it's going to be. That was just a landing, but still, that still could possibly delay.
Well,
you know,
no, because it failed on its way up. The engine blew on its way up, so and it could come down to wear and tear that, you know, because that was uncharted territory. That was the first time that a booster had flown for the fifth flight, and it could end up being like, yeah, well, that's why we did it on our own launch, and this was wear and tear that we weren't, you know, we needed to fly the fifth time to even know this, you know, it's unknown. So I don't think that that's going to be a big problem. You know, I think that they'll get through it, but they do still have to take those steps and make sure that it's not something inherent to the Merlin engine. But Michael Caine just pointed out there was an issue with the parachute recently.
Yeah, there was the parachute test that failed, so that's going to come into consideration, and also the fact that DM2 is going to draw a lot of people to the Space Coast. They have to think about that
that's
too.
The one I'm concerned about.
They can't, you know, this is astronauts launching from American soil again, sending our astronauts to the International Space Station since 2011. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to draw a lot of people. With everything going on with the coronavirus, they're not going to risk it, man. They're going to hold it off. It's not going up in May.
I can see the logic in that.
Yeah,
but it might go in June, and coronavirus might still be going on. Is what I'm saying. I can't say. I wouldn't make that bold of a prediction that they won't have this launch without it. Although if they say no, we're going to hold off, I would totally understand. But I also could see them going ahead with it and trying. I don't know. See, that's such a heyday for NASA that they don't want to have a launch where they're telling everybody, don't come and see us launch astronauts for the first time in 9 years. You know,
exactly.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah, they're at stage 4 over there. You know what I mean? Like,
Kennedy's at 3, I think.
Oh, they're still at 3?
Yeah.
Kennedy's 3, but the Space Center shut down. The visitor complex.
Yeah, visitor complex shut down.
Yeah, so that's going to be. I mean, Delaware North is going to be losing a lot of tickets. You already know they're going to want to sell the heck out of some ticket sales for that launch. You know,
they do.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot. It's not just one factor. It's a lot of factors, and we can't say this is what I think. I think we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
You know, we're just going to have to wait and see what goes on. If when it does go, you can guarantee that everybody see on the screen, we will all be covering it. So
that would be man, that'd be a brutal tweet. Please don't come to this the first launch of astronauts in 9 years.
Crude launch,
right? Yeah, please don't come.
Stay home. Watch it from your computer. We are launching, but you have to stay home.
Well, it's not going to be out at Max Brewer. I got to make sure I bring an extra pair of underwear that day too.
You have to remember, it's not a critical flight, so it's like they can postpone it. It sucks if you want to watch it go off, but it's not going to hurt anything.
Right, and then at the same time, a majority of people don't watch it in person anyway. Most people are watching it online, and they'd still get that coverage. NASA, they want the coverage. They want people watching and more interested, because it kind of helps them, get a bigger budget and all that kind of stuff. But
DM2 is going to be huge, man. This is going to be a gigantic launch, man.
Yeah.
You're going to have all the big news companies out there. They're all going to be covering it. It's going to be blasted all over the news all the time. So, and they're going to be doing it for a while, so that they get the word out there, like, hey, we're about to be sending astronauts to the International Space Station again. So everybody's going to be booking flights. Everybody's going to be booking hotels. It's going to be a big launch.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge, man. You're having people
It takes
coming
6 hours to get off the beach.
I think,
right, exactly.
Right, yeah, that's how it was for Falcon Heavy. I think on NASA's end, they could do it. They could pull it off without delivering coronavirus to the space station. But yeah, having all these people from all over the country and all over the world come here for this, it's dangerous. I don't know. Maybe we'll see where we're at. I mean, everything, things are changing literally every day. So hopefully, that's, more than a month and a half away. Hopefully we can get a handle on this thing by then. Although all the predictions,
China, so
all what in cases?
Yeah, we're at 85,000.
Oh man.
Shoot, my county is on the mandatory stay-at-home order for 2 weeks. We can't even go outside.
Started 1 minute ago.
One minute ago. Yep. So now
Welcome
we're on
to the quarantine.
Yeah.
Mandatory, bro.
Don't drink on the beach. I saw someone posted their $500 ticket.
Oh yeah, they are trying to get the beach shut down.
Well, it is now Cocoa Beach and all Brevard beaches are shut down from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. this weekend, and it's just they're trying to keep tourists from coming over here. I think they don't want to keep the residents from enjoying the beach that they chose to live next to. It's just like if you live next door to a park, keep the others out, but can I please still enjoy this park right next door? So it makes sense. Maybe they'll start doing this every weekend, or maybe they'll keep it going. I don't know, but don't come out to Cocoa Beach during the day, or
We're on. So I was in such a hurry to head on over there. As soon as I got off of work, I was like, oh, I got to go. Steve-O's picking up my gear. I got to go get my gear because 11 o'clock, town's on lockdown.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, you told me last night or this morning. Yeah, I was like, oh, man, we got to get this done like now.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't want my gear hanging over there for like 2 weeks.
Just leave your work shirt on. You say you're going home.
Yeah.
You're not going to haul you off to jail. Or call your work to find out.
Yeah, I mean, my job is essential, so I'm not losing. I'm very blessed and thankful that I'm not losing out on, hours and pay.
Mm-hmm.
I still get to work during this whole thing, so I'm very fortunate in that aspect. But there's a lot of people out there that are hurting. A lot of people out there suffering. It's so bad right now that the unemployment website crashed.
Yeah, we're at 3 million.
Crashed.
Filed for unemployment. That's pretty.
The website couldn't take all the people. That's not like. A lot of people are hurting, man. A lot of people are hurting out there.
They even extended unemployment rights to gig economy workers as well. So your Uber drivers, because they're out of business right now.
Yeah, no one wants to get in a car with some stranger.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. I wouldn't if I can't, because my Toyota still has my car because coronavirus ate my brake actuator, and it's still in Japan. But I wouldn't be Ubering right now. Absolutely not. Would not be doing it if I had the option. I've been doing
food delivery, and that's it.
Yeah.
All
right, folks. Well, that sounds like a show to me. Really appreciate you guys in chat. You guys are always there. Look at this. There's so many people talking.
Awesome.
Like it's possible to have a show where like there's nobody in chat and nobody's talking and stuff. But I really appreciate you guys being there.
Yeah. Stay safe, guys.
Stay safe. Yes. Stay clean.
Stay safe.
Wash them
Stay
hands.
healthy.
Yeah. Stay home.
Wash your hands.
Stay home if you can.
Wash your hands. Wash your damn Hands.
If you got Hulu, just start watching Seinfeld from the beginning. That's what I'm
Ooh, that's gross.
First you got to watch Pressing for Flight all the way through from the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But no, Seinfeld. Yes, if you have Hulu, Seinfeld all the way. Hide your kids.
It's way better than Friends.
All right, plays out.
Shutdown sequence initiated. Shutting down.